We come now to our time of confession or exhortation as we prepare to confess our sin. And our exhortation this morning comes from Psalm 119, verse 60, which says, I hasten and do not delay to keep your commandments. In our house, we say true obedience is doing what you're told right away, all the way, and with a cheerful attitude. If you miss any one of those three things, it is not really obedience. This morning, I want to focus on the first part, which is obeying right away, because delayed obedience is disobedience. When children delay obedience, they are tempting themselves to forget the command. Often they do forget, and the result is plain disobedience. Consider this. If I tell my kids, you can play in the yard, but I don't want you to leave the yard. I want you to stay within the bounds of the yard. And they immediately run straight to the edge of the fence, and they hop up on it, and they dangle their feet over the side. They're not obeying all the way. They're towing the line of rebellion. Technically, are they within the rules? Well, maybe, but not in spirit. It's the kind of obedience that honors with the lips, while the heart is far from submission. Well, delayed obedience is very similar to that. It's the same kind of thing. How close can I get to disobeying without actually disobeying? The excuse is always the same. I was about to, just give me 5 more minutes. But trying to obey it almost or eventually is trying to stay one step short of full disobedience. It's a heart that wants credit for obedience without surrender. Ask any military man in the room what would happen if at boot camp he told his drill instructor, I'll do those push-ups in just a second. Scripture gives us a very vivid contrast of these things in the story of Caleb. When the Israelites hesitated to enter the promised land, Caleb did not. So God says Caleb wholly followed the Lord. He obeyed right away and all the way. Now, this kind of immediate obedience sounds authoritarian to modern ears. We want our kids to be free thinkers. I want my kids to understand why I'm giving an order. I think it's good for them to ask questions. It's good for them to ask why. And there is a time and a place for discussion and explanation, but the moment right after you give a command is not that time. It's not appropriate at that moment to be having that dialogue. So when a kid answers, but Susie didn't have to, or I just did that yesterday, a wise parent will see it for what it is. It's rebellion disguised as dialogue. Don't take the bait, or as we say, never negotiate with a terrorist. Don't feed the trolls. The more you engage, the more you invite delayed obedience. You get more of what you subsidize. And here's the kicker. The ones most guilty of delayed obedience in the home are more often than not mom and dad. Parents know they've been commanded by God to train up a child, to discipline and correct. But when a child is throwing a fit, fighting a sibling, or clearly disobeying, far too often it's the parents who delay. God says to discipline and love, to instruct consistently, and yet we roll our eyes, we sigh, and we keep scrolling. That's rebellion too. And if you're crazy, like my wife and I, and you have kids ranging from 9 months to 20 years old, your older kids will see this. They know when mom and dad aren't obeying. They're learning from your actions, not your lectures. So parents, obey God right away. When your toddler throws a fit, stop what you're doing, even if you have guests over, and say, excuse me, and cheerfully go discipline your child. Don't make a scene. If you're grumbling while correcting them, you're not modeling cheerful obedience, the cheerful obedience that you're requiring of them. Moms, when you say he's just tired or she's hungry, what you're often doing is making excuses for your delayed obedience. You know you should discipline. Excuse me here. You know you should discipline, but you don't want to deal with it right now. Other times, those excuses may be legit, in which case you need to consider your children's frame. God promises he won't give us more than we should bear because he considers our frames. And as parents, we must imitate him. Fathers are told not to provoke their children to wrath. Actually, multiple times in the New Testament, fathers are told, don't provoke your children to wrath. Jesus warns us not to stumble little ones. It's one of the most terrifying warnings Jesus gives in Scripture. So if your kids are melting down and you realize you've pushed them too far past nap time or past their limits, then consider their frame. Maybe now is not the time to ask them to clean up. Go do it for them. And next time, plan better and consider their frame. As a mom, you might have to cut back on activities for your kids and get so that they can get a nap and a proper meal. A principle to help develop a culture of immediate obedience in your home is this: pick your battles and win every battle you pick. Give fewer commands, but require immediate obedience for every single one. When you're constantly barking orders rapid fire at your children, you're provoking them to wrath and tempting them to disobey. Use wisdom to consider their frame and pick your battles. Finally, dads, thought you were getting off the hook here, but talking to you too. God has made you head of your home. And so you, first and foremost, before anyone else, need to be the first one to model immediate obedience. Dads, when your kids start acting up, don't start looking over at your wife, hoping that she'll get up and deal with it. You be the one to bear the burden, to take up your cross and to lead. Leadership is service. Christ is our ultimate picture of leadership and authority. The world wants to tell us that leaders have privilege and power and therefore they are evil, but Christian leadership is Christ-likeness. It is sacrifice. He is our ultimate authority. He is the head of his household, and we, the church, are his bride. His leadership is taking our sin upon himself, responding to a situation that's not his mess. It's a mess that his bride made, and he is taking it upon himself to fix it and make it right. And he, of course, is doing that out of submission to his own Father. And so as Christ obeyed, let us obey right away, all the way, and with a cheerful heart.